Now we're getting into the night slate now, Dalton. And one of those big night games is Arizona at number 14, Iowa State. 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. A pair of undefeated Big 12 teams are facing off right now. They're two of the final 7 undefeated teams remaining in the Big 12. The Cyclones are off to their second 4-0 start in a row. They have wins over number 17 Kansas State and Iowa as a part of their 4-0 start. The Wildcats, meanwhile, are 3-0 for the first time in a decade. Last time they were 3-0 was 2015. They also have a win over Kansas State right now. But since that game against Kansas State was a previously scheduled non-conference game, this is actually technically the first conference game for Arizona this week.
That is an interesting dynamic there, that this is the first one here, even though they beat K-State. Now, I think Arizona, man, were we just a year early on them? Is that what happened?
Never wrong, just early here at the PFF College Football Show.
Seriously.
Clemson's winning it all next year.
Oh, that's what it's going to be? Oh, boy, they're all going to come back for another year, and they're going to do the Ohio State thing, and everyone will go back when we didn't think they would. Oh, boy. But, no, I mean, Arizona, it's looked really good through the first 3 weeks. They got a big win last Friday night, or actually the Friday night before against Kansas State. They got some momentum going. It doesn't just feel like there's just a better vibe around Arizona.
Yeah.
It just felt like so early in the season last year. It went off the rails so quickly. There was a change in offensive coordinator, and now they have another new offensive coordinator in Seth Daggy, who's been doing a really good job. But this is the prove-it week, it feels like, for them. And it was a good week. It was a good win to get over Kansas State, but also knowing what we know about Kansas State, for both teams, doesn't look like as great a win. And Kansas State, I think, is still decent, but they're figuring a lot of things out early in the season. So this really feels like, especially on the road, kind of a prove-it game for Arizona.
Absolutely. So talk about more about the Arizona offense with Noah Fifita right now. It looks a lot better than last year.
All right, so one thing that I did think killed him last year was the whole Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt situation. He played one game, of course, against his former team in New Mexico, and then he was declared ineligible. And to me, obviously, we know that Arizona's offense was so just reliant on Noah Fifita and Tetero McMillan, but they couldn't run the ball. The whole idea was that they brought Krosky-Merritt in to run the football. Now, this year, similar vibe, trying to figure out the run game. You don't have McMillan, so you certainly have to find other answers in your offense, but they've done a nice job of running the ball with Ishmael Mahdi, with Quincy Craig, with Noah Fifita, especially as a scrambler. He adds to it, and even some read option elements. Even though he's a little bit smaller, he can run the football too. Arizona this year, 36th in rushing grade, 34th in run blocking grade, 5th in the nation in yards before contact per attempt, and 22nd in explosive run rate. Those first 3 numbers you see right there, they were outside the top 80 in all 3 of those, the first 3. Last season, outside the top 80. Last year, they couldn't run the football. After Krosky-Merritt obviously was declared ineligible, it became so hard for them. They had no balance, and they were just dropping back, and it was Fifita and McMillan, and that was it. There was just no other threats in their offense. Right now, this offense has a little more balance to it. It's starting with the run game, I think, and that's going to be a huge factor against an Iowa State team who the grading might not say that they're super high in run defense, and that includes a game against Iowa. That's always tough against that offensive line, but we know they've got athletes. They've got a lot of speed. Iowa State has some of the best second-level run defenders at linebacker and at safety in the country. I'm curious to see if Arizona can continue to get some explosiveness out of this run game. If they can do that, then I think it sets up Fifita for success in the passing game, especially when you consider he's been incredibly good in a clean pocket this year, and Iowa State, just the structure of their defense, because they have that 3-man line, they don't blitz a whole lot, they don't really send a whole lot of extra rushers, they don't have an extra, I should say an individual standout as a pass rusher. Fifita in clean pockets in good down and distance situations could have a lot of success in the game. But I think for Arizona, it starts with continuing this momentum they have running the football. That's what won them the Kansas State game. They need to continue that.
I have the Iowa State offense. I'm looking at Rocco Becht, the quarterback, against Arizona's blitzes in this game. So Rocco Becht has had a great start. He was kind of under pressure going into the year from us even too. We're saying, okay, how is he going to look without Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, who's 2-star receivers from last year, who are both now in the Houston Texans? And so far, he's been pretty good as a redshirt junior. 85.8 PFF grade. That's 23rd in the country. 6 big-time throws, 2 turnover-worthy plays. But there is a pretty stark difference in how effective that he is against a standard rush versus when teams trying to get after him with 5 or more rushers or really blitz him, obviously. When he's not blitzed, he has the 13th best passing grade, PFF grade in the country at 87.7. When he is blitzed, he's only 71st in the country at 69.9. 8.1. Now, that could be an issue in this game because Arizona has a new defensive coordinator this year in Danny Gonzalez. He sends a blitz at the second highest rate in the Power 4 at 58%. But I will say, those blitzes have not really been that effective for Arizona this year. Arizona, even though they have the second highest blitz rate in the Power 4, they're only 103rd in the country in pressure rate this year at 28.6%. What has worked, though, for Arizona is their secondary and why Danny Gonzalez can send so many blitzes at quarterbacks, because Arizona right now has the 5th best passing coverage grade in college football at 91. Every opposing quarterback against Arizona this year has had sub-50 passing grades against them. So Rocco Becht against that secondary is a big-time matchup. And Danny Gonzalez, credit to him, because he knows that their pass rush hasn't been that great this year. He knows, hey, I have the secondary that can hold up if I send 5 or 6 rushers at the quarterback. That's what he's doing right now because they have not been getting at the quarterback that well, but they have the secondary that can hold up so they can send so many blitzes.
And I think these two safeties, Genesis Smith and Dalton Johnson, Smith is 6th in the nation in coverage grade right now. Johnson is in the top 40. Those two safeties against these two dynamic tight ends for Iowa State, Gabe Burkle and Ben Bramer, that's really where with the 12 personnel and those two tight ends constantly on the field, I think the two safeties are going to be a huge factor for Arizona in this game. If you can shut down the tight ends and make the wide receivers beat you, right, I think that's really where it's going to be helpful to Arizona in kind of controlling the passing game for Iowa State. Now, obviously, they're going to line up those tight ends. They're going to run the football with Carson Hansen and Abu Sama also, but I'm looking at these safeties to try to control the game against these tight ends in a lot of these condensed sets and this 12 personnel that Iowa State's running out there.
So ultimately, in a battle between two undefeated Big 12 teams, who will win between number 14 Iowa State and Arizona?
Boy, I'll tell you. First of all, what a slate we have, because I feel like I've said this a million times already. The more I was watching this Arizona team, and I think there's a little bit of a revival here. Again, we'll see in a kind of prove it week on the road. It's going to be a darn good football game.
Yeah,
I really think so. I think Fafita with probably not much pressure coming in his direction with all the 3-man rush and the way this defense is structured. Fafita is going to have an opportunity to make plays. I think he is the X factor in this game. Because Arizona hasn't beaten a great opponent yet, and I still have some questions about the depth of their receiving core, especially against this secondary, I'm going to go Iowa State 24-20, but I absolutely see the danger here. If Arizona does get the run game going, and that can put them in good down and distance situations, Fafita's going to have clean pockets, and this year he looks so much more confident throwing the football and the decision making. 3 games in, no turnover worthy plays, not one. So he still scrambles a little more than he did 2 years ago when he had Jed Fish as his coach, and he still holds the football a long time. But I'll tell you what, against this defense and the way it's structured and as much time as they give you, Fafita's an X factor. I will not be surprised at all if Arizona did find a way to win this game. I'll take Iowa State in a close one.
Yeah, I'll take the home team too. I have a 28-23 Iowa State coming out on top. I do think Rocco Becht, I know Arizona sends a lot of blitzes, but again, it hasn't really been working to get after the quarterback this year. I think Rocco Becht will have time in this game, and he'll be good against Arizona's defense too. So I think Iowa State will continue their undefeated season and also end Arizona's undefeated season too with a 28-23 victory.